and welcome to this edition of the 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙡𝙬 podcast, where I speak to Anderson Chong, the Managing Director of iquest, a corporate IT solutions business based here in Perth. During the very candid conversation I had with Anderson, he shared with me his own personal journey of how he helped create the business, how he led it through some really, really difficult transformational change, and where he sees the business moving forward, and some of the tips in terms of how he manages staff and how he leads the organization in terms of being a brand ambassador. So if you're working as a leader yourself in an organization, working through change at the moment, then hopefully you'll pick up some great tips and also seek some solace in the stories that Anderson has to say. He's certainly a great storyteller. So hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions on this or any insights. We always love to hear from people, and I will see you at the other end. Take care.
So my journey is, I actually stepped into the IT role because I think it's what they call year 10 a year. So when I finished high school, I wasn't quite sure what I want to do. So and I met, and all my buddies and school friends were like, hey, we're doing this IT course project, come along. Today's the last day to register. We were like, yeah, okay. I wasn't sure why, so I said, well, I'll sign up for it. And the three of us signed up for the course. And that's when my first step into IT. I never have a computer, never done anything around. Went through the course. And very quickly, I know that I'm not a programmer because I can't write a single code. Every programming language I just failed us like, and I gotta get an extension to get it passed. But anyway, once I finish up, the course still doesn't teach me a lot about technology. So I got a job with a technical IT company who happened to attach to Deutsche Bank. Oh. Yeah. So when the night before they sent me across, they said, they opened up this computer and said, tell me all the components. I was like, I don't know. Then you can see my boss face, you were like, oh gosh, we got the wrong guy to send to the and he was like, then he said, look, I'm not sure. We got the wrong person and you are terrible, and I'm not sure how long you're gonna last, but this is why. So that was that night he told me. I was like, okay, we just try. So anyway, I went to the bank. The important thing was that, and I lasted 6 years in the bank, in Deutsche Bank. And that was my big, because the bank is not looking for people who understand the components of it. Mm. We're a bank, we just want to run the business. Yeah. If a component is broken, take it out, plug it in, get it going. Don't want to know what are the parts, what are the internal parts and everything. So my boss at that time was surprised that it actually lasted so long, and eventually the bank brought me in. They said, look, we'll pay off your ex-employee, you come and work for us. That was within a year.
Wow. So yeah. From going from him saying, oh, you won't last long.
Yeah, for more than a week to, I said, so then they were surprised. They said, what do you do? I said, I don't know. But I do have an eye to look at complex issue. Yeah. When I troubleshoot a problem, I look at it, I was like, let's think logically. Yeah. It's the logical way that gets me around. But Deutsche Bank had taught me very well in terms of how business is run, because when in the year 2, I was attached to the stockbroker, the forex traders. Very, very high stress environment. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the people who are brought into that department, the IT guys, only lasted 6 months. I lasted 4.5 years.
So what were you doing that was different from the other guys then?
It's because I think I learned not to panic. Right. I tend to look at things a little bit more logically and say, all right, it's okay. Yes, I did lose a lot of the broker's commission because I was too slow to swap big monitors and everything. But I think I'm able to communicate, say, hey, this is a problem that if we do this, we'll fix that. And also I put on a lot of pressure myself that time is money. I understand time is money. Yeah. And that was the very foundation of my business. Time is money. So because I did that and I lasted for so long, I'm still the longest serving in hold that record. Wow. Yeah, because a lot of people came in and the brokers, dealing with the brokers is that you stand between them and the money, they will kill you. Okay? If you don't stand between them and the money, you help them through to make money, they're your best friend.
Yeah.
But they can flip literally like within 2 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
So never stand between them and the money.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. Yeah.
So how did you learn that? Because that's obviously really getting inside the head of your customer. How did you spot that so early on?
Because I've seen a lot of them struggle. Because when the broker yell at you or they throw monitors at you, a lot of us will be too scared, we'll just break down.
Yeah.
All right. To me, it was like, no problem, I'll pick it up, we'll give you another machine, let's go through this whole thing.
Yeah.
But because I also I didn't forcefully I stood my ground. I said, look, I'll fix this problem for you, don't worry about it. After a while, it builds a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And after a while, they were like, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to Anderson.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah. So that was how, and again, understanding the client's requirement and also understanding why are they so stressed. Because they're making money for the bank and they're forex traders. They're crazy. This bunch of guys and their commission, they were earning between $3 and $5 million commission every year. High strung. Yeah. They're very high strung. But then after the market closed, they can be your best friend too. So I learned to adapt that. So going back, time is money is critical. Yeah. So that was the big learning curve. I said time is money. Yeah. So fast forward when I came to Australia, because I was working for another bank called, after Deutsche Bank I left, I went to another bank called Canadian Imperial Bank, CIBC. So CIBC has a head office in Perth because they were lending a lot of money to the mining resource, and 2000 there's a lot of Canadian companies here because it's similar to resources in Canada. Okay. So they have a head office. So my job is basically to move them from Perth to Sydney. Yeah. And move the head office across. So that was my 2 years secondment here. So anyway, after 2 years, they said, hey, do you want to get a job back in Sydney, or you want to move back to Singapore? I said, I want to stay in Perth. They were like, why? Perth is boring, man. There's nothing here. Why are you going to stay here? I said, look, Deutsche Bank days and CIBC days, for 6 years, I do a lot of FIFO, but I travel to Asia Pacific region, the branches, and I leave off my suitcase for 6 weeks, I come back for a week and go off again. So I'm kind of tired. I said, look, I think Perth is a pretty good place for me, same time zone as Singapore, and I can always have breakfast in Perth and lunch in Singapore. That's brilliant. Yeah. So they say, yeah, okay. I said, look, just give me a good redundancy package, I'll take it. So they were very kind, they gave me a nice redundancy package. And as I did that, I went back to uni for a year just to finish my degree, which I'm holding off. And during the time, those guys who hasn't moved to Sydney, again, it's a stockbroking firm as well as the investment banking. Yeah. The guys call out and say, hey, Ando, you want to come and help me? I'm setting up another company, stockbroking company. I was like, yeah, okay, I got nothing to do. I'll give you guys a hand. So that's where iquest was born. Because after I graduated, I was like, what do you want to do? And I told my wife at the time, I said, look, give me 2 years. If I can't make this business work, I'll find a job. Yeah. And that's been 16 years since I started the business. Wow. Yeah. So the important thing is also because where these guys, we have one of the largest stockbroking firm and financial servicing firm in Perth. And the only reason why we're in a city is because I want to be able to walk across to my client. Yeah. Time is money. It's still that value. My guys here knew time is money. If a client say, look, I got a problem, we want to be able to walk across within 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. There's a lot of IT companies that are based in Osborne Park or South Perth. It will take them at least 45 minutes to drive in by prime parking and see the client. For me, nah, I don't want that. I want to be able to see the client immediately. If something happens, we'll be there. Mm-hmm. So that time is money concept has always been entrenched in this business. Mm. That's why we're in the city. That's why we got the most expensive real estate compared to any IT firms. Because I understand time is money. So that is pretty much how I started the business.
So it was just you at the time then?
There was only me and another business partner, which I bought him out maybe about, 10 years ago.
Right. So how did you go from that then 10 years ago to where you are now? Because obviously walking around your offices, you employ, what, 20 staff, 30 staff, something like that?
So at the moment so that was the beginning of that journey. Up until about 6 years ago, there was a crisis in the business. And that was the turning point of iquest to the next level. So I always say when there's a crisis, it's a good.
Yeah.
We need
that's a growth spurt.
Yeah. So that was the best thing that happened to us. So I think it's 6-7 years ago. We were growing very, very well. We have quite a fair bit of staff and client, but we were thinking of growing, having an office in Melbourne. It's always the aim to have a business in Melbourne. So
was that because again the link to the stockbroking business?
Not so much. It's just because I want to diversify the risk, so that because I know that in Australia the economy of different states is at a different stage.
Yeah.
So it's always as a business, and also coming from Asia Pacific, we talk about expansion. Expansion is a very big word for us. And coming from the bank are always buying companies or setting up branches all over because they want to expand the network.
Yeah.
So that was how it was being. So to me, it was like having grow and grow big, think and grow big. And I got a mentor in the past who said, look, the world is your playground. Do not limit yourself to a city, to a place. You must look at the world bigger beyond that. So and I was part of another business organization called Entrepreneurial organization, which have a massive impact in my life. That is also a very important turning point that helped me to where I am today.
And that's the one you were telling me about. That's a global
organization
where you have access to some of the biggest brains on the planet.
We got the biggest brain, the brightest people, the best trainer in the world, 𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙡𝙬, Jim Collins, Simon Sinek, and those guys. Full access to them, and so every time we go to a conference, it's a massive party. It's a very American style service.
And you were talking about your own personal development and learning journey, and how that was really, really important in terms of where you then taken the business.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening all in that time.
Yeah,
it's business growth and personal growth. Yeah, so there's a lot of, because when I in that network, the beauty of it is that you see a lot of business owners outside of Australia, most of them own 4 or 5 businesses, and you're like, how do you do that? Oh, it's okay, we got time. It's like, what? So it's always inspiring to see, how do you guys do it? So when I took it back with myself, we said, okay, we need to have a Melbourne office because I want that to happen. I want to have a KL office we actually have an office in KL too. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So KL office, we need to do that. That's the expansion plan. And so we did that. And the Melbourne office and what eventually will become the biggest learning experience was because when we went there, we thought we set up ourselves. We bring the team there, we hire the rental, the office, everything that we built. And we thought client would just come.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah, build it and then they will come, right? And then we were eyeing on one contract, which is waiting for them to come. It's an international client waiting for them to come. And that contract didn't come. So we were bleeding for about 8 months. Massive bleeding. We are losing like 6-digit numbers. Okay? Massive. And after 8 months, and Perth is also bleeding because they are funding this office, and we're bleeding massively, and we're like, okay, so I had to draw a line in the sand. So I bleeded draw, and I said, oh, we're gonna shut this business down. So I flew over to Melbourne, and I told the team, clear the team, terminate the lease, pay out all the lease, whatever you say, and a lot of money has gone up. And just as about to jump on the plane, I got a call from this client that's supposed to sign off this contract. He said, hey, we are ready to sign this contract.
No way. That was literally you about to go on the plane?
Yeah, I was on the bus to the airport. I was like, kidding me? He said, no, yeah. We now want you guys on board UK can look after our Perth office and Melbourne office. Like, okay. I said, give me an hour, I'll call you back. So I hang up the phone. I was like, okay, what are we going to do with this? If I drop this contract, I will never be able to recover the losses in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And all the losses that we are accumulated. We are talking about $500,000 of losses
in
8 months. Right? And this site is gonna die because we are really.
So it was potentially life-threatening to the whole business, not just to the Melbourne office. Yeah.
Because we drained so much money there, pour so much money from here into there. So we drained all the reserve here.
Yeah. To fund that. So were you feeling calm at that stage?
Look, it is to a point that I was, I think what I learned, I was come to a point that it's a mistake that we learn.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to collapse. Of course, there's a lot of panic sticking and things like that. But anyway, so I rang up a friend of mine who is also running an IT business in Melbourne. I said, hey, I got this contract, 100,000. I'll sell it to you for 8. I'll sell it to you for 80. I want 20. You have to say yes in the next half an hour. Call me back. So he called me back and said, yeah, I'll take it. I said, cool. Then I called back my client and said, okay, this is how this deal is going to do. Okay, this is a company that I'm going to outsource it. Are you okay with that? He said, yeah, that's fine. I know who you are. It's okay. So I sell the contract to an IT provider who's now I own the business now.
Yeah.
How the business is
run.
Right? So look, there you go. I want 80. So iquest will pocket 20,000 for not doing anything. So that was the gutsy moment you just had to do it.
Yeah.
So I turned around, told my wife, I'm not coming home tonight. Don't worry about it. I might not be home for the next 2 days. I need to sort out this thing. So I turned around, go back to the hotel. The next day, sort out this business in Melbourne, fly to Sydney to get it to sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
Come back, and it took me another 3 days to go down. But anyway, that still doesn't fix the losses.
No.
Okay, that only resolved one part of the problem. So I came back here, and the business was really badly run. Was people we got about 25 staff. The morale is low because it's also the mining downturn as well.
Right.
So we also lose a lot of clients here, and I remember sitting down. I was like, okay, what are we gonna do with this?